Hello CraftDee family, and welcome to another tutorial by She's So CraftDee. For today's DIY projects, we will be creating some winter neutral home decor DIYs made with items from the Dollar Tree. Now these projects have a beautiful combination of black and white along with natural wood tones and greenery that fit into a cozy winter home display. Now as always, all of the projects I create have a complete supply list in the description box so you can easily use it for reference as you gather up your supplies. Now before we start, I have to say hey to all of my subscribers, and if you're a new visitor to my channel today, I hope you consider subscribing as well and stick around to enjoy these crafts and all the tips that I'll share with you along the way. So now let's just jump right into these projects. Now this project is a large tabletop street lamp. We'll need one large clear scalloped container from the Dollar Tree. Now you can use a smaller clear scallop container that's square as well. We'll need one of these silver bowls from the Dollar Tree, and we will also need one of these plaques from the Dollar Tree. The first thing we're going to do is go ahead and grab your bowl. We're going to take it out and give it a couple of coats of some flat black spray paint. I'm going to do this on the inside and out. And we're also going to take the clear bowl and we're going to give it 3 layers of frosted glass spray paint by Rust-Oleum. So while those are drying, go ahead and grab your plaque and grab your centerpiece for your pole. Now, you can also use the center of a Dollar Tree plunger. You'll just have to cut the ends flat. But what I decided to do is I decided to use the center roll of a roll of plastic wrap. Now this is really thick and firm. It'll be perfect to support my project, and you can also use the center roll from a roll of cutting vinyl, and as you can see, the cutting vinyl roll is larger but it's much thinner and less sturdy, so I think the plastic wrap cylinder will work perfect. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take our plaque and our pole piece, and I'm going to give them one coat of some black acrylic paint. Now on the wood plaque, all you really need is one coat. This apple barrel black paint covers really well, and you're just going to get the top and all of the sides until it's all covered. Now once you do that, you want to paint your pole piece as well with one coat. And here are both pieces, and just let them sit to dry. Now once they're all dry, what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab some loose tumbling tower blocks that I had, and I'm going to place some inside each end of my pole. Now what this will do is add a little bit more surface area, so your pole will be bonded to your surface, and it'll just give a little bit more to grab onto and make it more sturdy. So I'm just running some hot glue along the edges of those tumbling tower blocks and pressing them along the inside of the tube, and 3 will fit into each side. Now as you can see, there is more surface area here, and once you get 3 in there, just add some glue into the little cracks and crevices just to make sure those blocks are nice and secure on that end. Now once you do this end, you want to do that to the other end as well. You do want to make sure all your blocks are flush with the opening of your tube. So now that everything is nice and dry and ready to go, I'm going to grab some matte Mod Podge, and I'm going to give a coat to my wood plaque and also my pole piece. And here's everything covered, and just allow this to all completely dry. So here are my 2 pieces all dry, and my plastic scallop bowl that's nice and dry from the frosted effect. So we're going to start to assemble our lantern. I'm going to use a combination of E6000 and hot glue, and I'm going to first of all center that pole and trace it out with a pencil. Now we want that surface where the pole will be bonded to be a little rough, so I'm going in with my pencil and I'm kind of scribbling the area, and then also taking my utility knife and just kind of scoring the area back and forth so it's a little bit more rough, and that glue will have something to grab onto. So I'm first going to put a little thin layer of E6000 along the opening of one end of that tube. And then I'm going to follow up with a generous amount of my wood hot glue that I'm using, and I'm just going to press it in the center, adding a little bit of pressure, and then holding it for about 10 or 20 seconds until it's really nice and bonded. And as you can see, it is on there and isn't going anywhere. Now we're going to apply E6000 and hot glue to the very top of the pole as well. And then we're going to carefully and center in place our little scalloped bowl on top until it's nice and bonded as well. And here is what everything looks like, all nice and assembled. So at the last minute, I decided to put one of those wood cross pieces in the center. Now, you would actually do this before you glued everything together, but my mind is always coming up with ideas while I'm working. So I'm just going to add this in. So to add it to the pole, I'm just going to choose a place to put it, and then I am just going to drill straight through the pole, right across, making a hole big enough for a dowel. Now I'm using a 3/8 inch dowel that I got from Walmart for about 67 cents, but you can use dowels from the Dollar Tree that are a little smaller as well. So I just cleaned up the holes that I drilled, and I'm going to put my dowel in there and then secure it in place by running hot glue around the opening on each side. So now that this is secure, we're going to accent the ends of the dowel, and I have two 20mm wood beads, and I get them in a large pack from Amazon. So I'm just going to add one of those wood beads at each end, making sure you're bonding the whole side of the bead on each side, and I'm just using my wood hot glue for this, or you can use standard wood glue. And once it dries, just add some of your black acrylic paint and Mod Podge so everything blends together. And here is what everything looks like, all nice and dry. So I also decided to put dividers on my bowl. Now I wanted to leave this plain at first, but I thought it might look a little bit better if I put actual windows on there. So to use windows, I love to use the electrical tape from the Dollar Tree to do this. And you can also use the black vinyl that Dollar Tree sells for cutting machines and cut that into strips. But I'm using the electrical tape because I think it's easily accessible by everybody, and it just sticks very well for me. So I laid about 4 strips at the bottom, and what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to cut these strips down with my utility knife at about 1/8 inch. So you can get about 3 or 4 out of one strip of tape. So I'm cutting multiple strips for the cross sections of my piece. And then I'm just going to even up one edge so it'll be easy to peel off my mat. Now I'm also going to be going ahead at the top and putting 4 more strips of tape, and these will be the divider pieces for each of the 4 sections. And then I'm just going to cut those down, cut 1/8 of an inch off of that because they were a little wide as is. So now we have our 4 pieces for our division, and we have our little strips for our cross pieces. So now we're just going to lay our strips out and divide them into 4 equal sections. So I'm taking the larger strips and I'm putting that first section down and then the second section down, and this will be the first section. Once you do this all the way around, you just want to make sure they're evenly spaced, and once you do that, you could go ahead and cut off all of those tails around the bowl. You also want to trim the tops as well, and here's everything all trimmed and ready to go. So now what I want to do is go around the bottom with the tape as is off the roll, and this will just kind of give it a base to the lantern, a light post. I want to do this all the way around and cover up those pieces. Now I'm going to end up going around this twice, but you can actually save this step for last if you like, but I'm going to go around twice and have 2 layers on my project. So now I'm taking those thinner 1/8 inch strips and 1/8 inch strips, and then I'm going to go in an X pattern in each one of the 4 sections that I made on my lamp post. Now you're going to do this all the way around till all the sections have their X in them, and you can go ahead and trim off all of the tails. Now this is where I take my tape and I go around one more time around the bottom. I'm just making sure all those ends are nice and secure, and I have a nice thick edge to define the bottom of my open lantern post. So now I'm flipping it upside down, and the bottom of the lantern is still white, and just to make it all blend in together, I'm painting that with black acrylic paint so it looks like a really solid black base. And once you paint that and let it dry, go ahead and add Mod Podge to that as well, just to make sure it blends in with the rest of the black on the lantern. And here's what we have so far. So now here is that bowl we spray painted outside. We gave it a couple of coats of black flat spray paint. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add this topper to the top. Now I got these toppers in a 2-pack from Lowe's. They're about $2.98 for 2 of these. And I've already painted it black. I already had it on hand. So I'm just going ahead and adding it to the top of the bowl. And as you can see, it makes the perfect topper to make it look like a lantern. So I'm just adding a generous amount of my hot glue, press it firmly right on top of that bowl. And there you have it. You have a lid. Now there's no need to put any clips or ledges on the top. It sits very perfect on top of the opening of the bowl. So there you have it. You have a completed lantern piece. So now to light this, you can use a larger candle, battery operated. I got this one from Walmart on clearance. I love how the whole candle lights up. You can also use one of the LED candles at the Dollar Tree, and they have different sizes of these, or you can use some fairy lights or tap lights if you have them. Now you've seen this piece. I did this in a previous DIY and I made it removable just for projects like these. If you tie this on, it looks perfect. You can add a wreath or other greenery, but I thought this would make a great accent for this project. And here is the lantern all decked out and decorated, and I love how this turned out. Now this lantern stands over 2 feet tall, and you can actually use this for a standalone space for ambient lighting. Now I'm so glad I decided to place the iron look dividers and decorations on this lantern as well. Now I did use a larger candle in this one, but you can use other types of battery lighting in it too. Now how about adding some fairy lights from the Dollar Tree? Now these give a really pretty bright light. Now I really do love this option too, and it's always so hard to choose which one that I love more. Let me know what you think of this project in the comments below. Now this project is a winter snowflake decor piece. We're going to need some of these medium sized snowflakes from the Dollar Tree, one of these box frame signs from the Dollar Tree. We're also going to need some of these thick 32-inch bamboo skewers from the Dollar Tree. Now, if you can't find these at the Dollar Tree, you can also get these from Walmart. Just take a look in their camping section, and they have these for 88 cents, and they're available year-round. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take our snowflakes and we're going to remove 6 out of the package. You want to go ahead and trim off those little hangers, and we're going to end up painting these with some white chalk paint. You just want to dab some of that paint all over the surface of each one of those snowflakes, and then once you do that, you want to allow all of them to completely dry. So now we're going to work on the skewers. Now I grabbed 3 out of the package, but I only ended up using 2. Now if you don't have skewers or can't find them, you can also use the dowels from the Dollar Tree. They're a little larger, but they definitely will work for this project. So I'm going to go ahead and grab my ruler, and I'm going to be cutting down my skewers into different sizes. And the first size I wanted to cut is 5 inches. So I'm going to mark 2 sections at 5 inches. And then the next section I wanted to cut was about 7.5 inches. And I'm going to make 2 pieces at 7.5 inches as well. And then the last piece I'm going to cut is about 10 inches. Now I love to use my pet clippers from the Dollar Tree to cut these. It just cuts through like butter, no problem. So I'm just going to cut all my pieces apart from the skewers. So I have 2 5-inch, 2 7.5 inch, and 1 10-inch piece. Now all our pieces are cut. I'm going to go ahead and paint them, and I'm going to use my black acrylic paint for this. You just want to apply one nice coat on each one of those skewers, making sure you get the ends and let them dry. So now we can grab our little rectangular sign here, remove it from the packaging, and what we're going to do is we're going to be making holes in this for our skewers, but we first need to know where to place them. So I'm putting a dot in the middle, 2 dots on each end, and then a dot in between there. Just make sure all your dots are evenly spaced. And I'm going to take my drill and I'm just going to drill a hole that'll fit the size of my skewer. Now, if you don't have a drill, you can nail a hole or use your X-Acto knife to kind of cut a hole in there as well to fit all of your skewers. So now that my holes are drilled, I'm going to turn it over and I want to add a bead of hot glue along each one of the seams on this piece just to reinforce it just a little bit. And then once you do that, I'm going to give the entire piece 2 coats of some black acrylic paint. You want to make sure that it does dry in between your 2 coats. And here's the piece all nice and painted on the second coat, and let it completely dry. And here you have it, it's all done and dry. So I also decided to put the word winter on the front. Now these letters are wood and they are from the Dollar Tree. So I'm gonna paint these with some white acrylic paint, and I'm just gonna add 2 coats of that acrylic paint on each one of the letters, and that would be perfect to put on the front of our display. And here they are, all nice and painted. So now that everything's dry, we're going to grab up all of our pieces for our project. So I'm going to take the block piece and I'm going to start adding the skewers. Now the 5-inch pieces will go on the 2 end holes, the 10-inch piece will go in the center, and the 2 7.5-inch pieces will go in the 2 remaining holes. Now even though these fit in the holes, they still will wobble, so we're going to make sure that we're going to secure that. So we're going to flip it over to the bottom. And we are going to take our hot glue. Now when we take our hot glue down there, we are going to put a heaping amount of hot glue around each one of those skewers right at the base. Be very generous with this. You want it to be nice and straight when the glue dries. So we're going to add 1 heaping amount on here. And when we do add this glue, we want to make sure that we flip it over and make sure everything is drying straight. So go ahead and make adjustments while the glue is warm. Once that first layer dries, add a second layer, and that will lock all of the skewers in place as shown here. And now you can decorate with your piece. So the first thing we're going to do is add the word winter at the bottom of our piece. So we're going to go ahead and spell out winter. We want to make sure everything is evenly spaced, and then we'll go ahead and we will hot glue all the letters down on the front. Now they will overlap the top edge, so make sure the bottom is nice and flush with the bottom edge of your wood piece. So here are all of our letters all nice in place, and now we can add our snowflakes. Now I'm going to add a snowflake to each skewer, adding hot glue at the center of the back of the skewer, and the top of that skewer will be actually on that center. And you just want to do this for all of your skewers at the very tip. So here are all of our snowflakes at the tips of each one of our skewers. Now we do have that one open space in the middle, so I'm taking the last snowflake and I am going to place it right in the center in the middle. And here's what our piece looks like. It looks great so far. Now you know that piece we made before, that would look great in the center as well. Okay, so the open area at the bottom, once your glue is nice and dry, I'm going to use some of this black foam. I get this long 5-foot sheet from Joann's with a coupon 50% off, and this is perfect for covering the bottom of your projects like this. So I cut a piece of the foam to fit the bottom of the opening. So I'm adding some hot glue around the bottom opening of the wood piece and sitting it right on top of that foam. And then once it dries, I'm going to go ahead and take my utility knife from Dollar Tree and trimming off all of the excess all the way around. This just makes it so clean and professional and hides all of your work underneath the bottom. And I think it just looks great when it's done. Now I think this does look great as is, but I'm going to go ahead and add another accent just to tie it into my other pieces. I tied a bunch of little small bows that I had on hand, and I'm just going to add a bow underneath each one of your snowflakes. Now if bows aren't your thing, you definitely don't have to add them to this project. It's definitely optional, but I'm just showing you this option in case you love to have bows on your project. And here is my winter decor piece on display, and I think this is super cute. I think that painting the snowflakes was such an easy update, and placing this on a mantle with fairy lights would look so awesome. Now I would love to know where in your home you would choose to display a piece like this. Now this project is a set of winter trees. Now I'm going to be using 2 of these winter glitter trees from the Dollar Tree. So I'm going to go ahead and start by removing all of the tags from the trees. Now I am not a big fan of glitter, so I am going to paint these in a couple of coats of flat white spray paint to see how it turns out. And here they are. They turned out better than expected. I am so glad I didn't pass on the glitter trees. So to glam these up a little further and blend into my decor, I took 2 pieces of burlap with a small square inside of a larger square, and this is just some scrap that I had on hand, and I'm going to bundle up the bottom as if it's a little sack. And then I'm going to take a piece of jute twine and I'm going to tie it around the base a couple of times, and then I'm going to trim off those tails. Now if your little flaps are a little big, I'm just going to trim them down just so it makes it aesthetically pleasing for your decor. And there you go. It is so easy to do. Here is one of the trees all nice and bundled up. So now I'm going to take more of that black and white ribbon, and I'm going to cut a piece long enough to wrap around the tree, but it is a little thick, so what I'm going to do with mine is I'm going to run hot glue down the edge and then fold it in half so it's just a little bit thinner. And once you have your thin ribbon, I'm just going to wrap it around the base, trim it down, and then hot glue it around the tree. So I'm going to take that same ribbon and I'm going to tie just the tiniest little bow just to decorate the bottom of the tree. So once I get the nice size, I'm just going to cut it down, and you don't never want to leave any of those raw edges on your little bow. So go ahead and take a lighter, and especially if you're dealing with grosgrain ribbon, go ahead and burn those edges, and then you can go ahead and add hot glue and stick it right in the center at the bottom. And now all you have to do is repeat this for your second tree. And now here are both of your beautiful trees all completed. And here they are. Now this is such a super and simple, easy update to the glitter trees from Dollar Tree. Now these trees took the paint so well, and I'm so happy about the way that they turned out. And the little burlap pieces add that rustic, natural touch that make these feel so organic. And now you can take all of your glitter trees and make them fabulous as well. Now this project is a winter candle centerpiece. Now I'm going to start this project with 2 of these wood crates from the Dollar Tree. So for these wood crates, I am going to be staining them in some antique wax. Now I am going to be gluing them side to side. You can actually glue them together now, but I'm just going to go ahead and start staining them first. Now when you apply your wax, you definitely want to make sure you wipe it away after you cover the surface so you don't have a waxy feel when it's done. And I'm going to complete the wax adding 3 of the sides, leaving 1 unstained and the bottom unstained. I did decide at the last minute I wanted to add feet to this, so I left the bottom unstained for that purpose. Now when I do stain the bottom, I am going to stain it to where I leave all 4 corners unstained, because that's where the glue will be added for the beads, and you don't want that stain to get in the way. And I'm going to do that for both of the containers. So now we can glue them together. So I'm just going to add a generous amount of my wood stick hot glue on the side of the container and then press them together firmly. Now when you press them together, you want to make sure that the lines add up on each side. I know some of these containers can be wonky sometimes, so you do want to make sure that they're all lined up and touch up any of the wax that may not have been covered. And now we can go in and add our beads. I'm just going to add that wood glue to the corner of each one of those unstained corners and add one of those beads. Now these are 16mm beads. I got them from Amazon, but I'll put the link in the description box below. And once the glue dries on all of your beads, go ahead and touch up the stain around the bead and that bare area. Wipe it away with a cloth, and this is what your container will look like. So just allow it to dry. Now while that's drying, we can start working on our platform for our candle. So I am going to take some of these larger craft sticks. I got these from Lowe's in packs for 98 cents. I'm going to go ahead and stain both sides. Now I'm going to lay one of the craft sticks down and I'm going to mark the edges of the top of the box with a pencil. And then I'm going to cut this one out to the shape. Now once you test the fit, we're going to copy this 2 more times so we have a total of 3 pieces. Now we're going to lay one in the middle and one on each side, and we are going to be hot gluing this in place. So go ahead and first run a bead of hot glue down the center seam, and then we're going to add one of those sticks on each side. And this platform should be large enough to hold all of your battery operated candles on the top. Okay, so now that our box has had the time to dry, we can start decorating with it. So I'm going to be using some lamb's ear, some eucalyptus, some pine pieces, and I'm also going to be using some berries. I also have some blocks. I joined 9 blocks together for a platform for my candles on each side, and I have 2 pieces of styrofoam that I'm going to stick in there so I can fit everything nice and cozy in there. Now I did put my 2 candles on each end. You can see how I stuck them in there. And now I'm going to start decorating around my LED candles, first putting that lamb's ear in there and then adding some pine on the side. And then I'm going to follow up with a few pieces of some eucalyptus. Now you can go in any order that you like. I'm just adding this really randomly and just trying to make it aesthetically pleasing. You just add them however you like. I just thought that these colors had a wintry vibe. I thought they were really pretty and really cute. Now the final things I'm going to add to my bunch are these berry clusters from the Dollar Tree. I think they give the perfect final touch to my project. And then once all your greenery is added, add that center candle in the middle, and there you have it. You have a triple decker candle holder. So to tie it in, I am going to be using some more of that black and white ribbon. I'm going to wrap it around the entire box, and then I'm going to glue the ends together on the front, not gluing it to the box, but just gluing the edges of the ribbon together. And then I'm going to take more of that ribbon, and what I want to do is just go ahead and make a ribbon with 3 loops on each side, and this will be on the front of the box. You don't have to put a bow on the front of the box. I just decided to do it. I thought it would be a really cute accent, and once you have your bow done, you can go ahead and make sure you light those edges so they're nice and sealed. And then I'm going to hot glue this bow on the front of the box on top of that ribbon that we just placed on there. And you just want to allow that to dry, and then your piece is ready to go. So here is what your arrangement will look like. You have your ribbon bow on there, you have all your beautiful greenery, and it's kind of reversible. You can turn it around to the back as well, and this will showcase that lamb's ear a little better. It's all up to you how you want to display this in your space. And there you have it, a super easy centerpiece for a winter display. Now I love this combination, and I hope that you love it too. Now you guys, I really had fun creating these projects for you today, and I really do hope that they have inspired you. Now as always, I do really love them all, but let me know in the comments below which one of these projects was your favorite today. Listen, if you love DIYs on a budget, please give this video a thumbs up and share this video with your friends. Make sure you're following She's So CraftDee on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and Pinterest for the latest news, sneak peeks, and giveaways. Now, if you like videos like these and you don't want to miss the next one, make sure you're subscribed by clicking that subscribe button below, or just click on my She's So Crafty logo on your screen and make sure you hit that bell to be notified when the next DIY goes live. It's absolutely free. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all next time.